Hello, everyone. Welcome to the United Stand. I hope you're doing well. Latest Manchester United news, but also Manchester United versus Liverpool. I'm joined by Chris from the Redmen TV. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm all right, Mark. Thank you for having me, my friend.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this because the amount of times I've been up to your studio before lockdown, and I'd love to be there, even though, you know, it's a Liverpool studio. I just love to be out of lockdown. But the amount of times I've sat there over the last couple of years just having to grin and bear it, which you did for a long time, and you said it at that time. So I'm not going to say anything that you didn't. You were very gracious about that. But I never thought we would be turning things around this quickly, that we would be saying Man United are coming to Anfield 3 points ahead, same games played, top of the title. Not a decider. It might not. Man United might not even be in a title race in 3 months, and I'm sure Liverpool will be. But at this moment in time, we are. How do you approach this game as a Liverpool team fan, and what do you think is actually going on? Because you are 3 points behind us, so it's not like you could say a draw is a good result.
All right, you've got that in twice already in the first 30 seconds. Well done, Mark. I'm surprised it wasn't more.
Go for 10.
It was nice of you to put the amount of European Cups we've won just on the wall behind you there, by the way, mate. Really, really nice of you. That big number 6. We've got our trophy in the background as well. Wrong ribbons on that trophy. I think they're all red this season, Mark, and the other one.
Anyway, 3 points ahead of you in the league. Let's live in the present.
Mate. Yeah, let's live in the present. Liverpool fans always living in the past. History FC, all that type of stuff. Yeah. Okay. Look, it's a massive game. Everybody knows that. You know, Liverpool, Manchester United, even when Liverpool were crap and Man United were brilliant, and, you know, when you were crap and we were brilliant only last season, it was a massive game. Now, you know, not only are we playing for, I think it's a 6-pointer. I do. I'm not sure the title race has started just yet. We're not, you know, we're just edging up on halfway through the season. But you've got to say, this is massive. I mean, the way that Man United have grinded results out, or ground results out, I should say, that's, you know, you might look at it and go, they've got past a few teams that maybe they shouldn't have, blah, blah, blah. Liverpool were doing that last season, and everyone was saying it's title winning form, and we've seen United sides in the past do that as well. So it's big. We're also playing for our home record. You know, Manchester United would love to be the team that stops us or beats us at Anfield for the first time since 2017 and stuff. So that's a massive thing as well. And I think the no fans probably plays into it. I don't think Liverpool are in particularly good form at the moment, and Manchester United are winning games of football every week. So yeah, it's going to be a massive game, and I think, you know, to answer the question about how we approach it, I want Klopp to approach this like he approached games last season, where a draw isn't good enough. A win is what we need to do this game. And it's going to be one of them games as well, Mark, isn't it, where two styles of football clash, and you can see either team winning, because Liverpool could dominate possession and score goals, or Manchester United could hit us on the counter-attack and score goals. And that's the thing where I think, you know, they've been turgid, these games, for a couple of years now, and quite a lot of the big games have been turgid over the last couple of years for Liverpool, but we've always managed to win it. I don't feel like this is going to be one of those games where, I just think there's goals in it this time, and I'm not normally going into Man United games thinking like that.
I think that, I mean, I'm interested to get you, we can delve into it a little bit later, but about Liverpool's points tally compared to the last 2 years, because there is a big difference. I want to ask you about that. But before we get to that, I think that the fact that there's no fans in the ground, I think anybody can acknowledge now that the evidence is there, that the reason, you know, we're getting odd results is because there's less pressure. I think United, I don't necessarily think it means we've got a better chance, but I hate going to Anfield. I hate watching it. I hate the United Liverpool game, because Anfield is just, I think even if we're 3-0 up with 5 minutes to go, I'd think, oh, you know, that crowd's going to get something out of the game. So that obviously isn't going to be there. But it's interesting you say you want Klopp to go for it. I think Liverpool this season, some of the points, I've not watched Liverpool drop many points, because I've gone like, I'm not watching that. They'll win that. And then you turn it on and it's like, you know, when you're updating Twitter or BBC 10 minutes to go against Newcastle, they'll definitely score. And then they don't, and you're like, yes, I knew they were going to drop points, and I didn't at all. But then I've watched you play Leicester and Wolves, and I thought, you know what, they've got injury problems. Leicester and Wolves are good teams, and you watch it for 25 minutes, and you just see Liverpool. You know, they can't get out of their half. Deservedly good football, and I've said that a lot about Liverpool. I mean, look, I don't like Liverpool. I think it's not a hate rivalry for me. I think it's a great rivalry, because it does. You know, so much we want to win, and there is such a competition there. But the way that Klopp gets them going, I know exactly what could happen on Saturday. Do you think he will do that? Do you think he will go Trent and Robertson, get forward and, you know, press high up the pitch? or do you think he will be wary of the fact that, and you know more than me, your weaknesses maybe, and the fact that we have got quick players on the break?
Well, that's the $64,000 question, isn't it? That's where I think Liverpool fans are a little bit unsure of, because it's quite obvious if you watch Liverpool every week that A, Trent's not in good form, and B, Trent's not playing as high up the pitch as he has been. And I think that's down to the fact that, he's playing with a different lad every week. He looks to his left-hand side and he sees a 19-year-old, Reece Williams one time, he looks again and it's like, Nat Phillips, weren't you on loan last year? Flipping wherever, and where's Matip? Oh, he's ill again. Okay, Sean. So I think he's got those types of problems, and I think because we've had that young, inexperienced centre half next to him, he's not been able to go forwards. He's not given that freedom to go forwards. Yeah, exactly. And that's where most teams attack us anyway, is behind Trent Alexander-Arnold. It's obvious because he pushes so far forwards, and I don't think he's quite as good defensively as Andy Robertson is. So his natural inclination isn't defend first, it's attack first. So it's a clear weakness there on that right-hand side, even when he's in great form, which he's not been. Rumours that he had COVID early in the season, he missed pre-season. He just hasn't hit the heights of the last couple of years, if I'm honest with you. So I think all those factors sort of play into it. I think, if down the left-hand side, we're fine. We're absolutely fine. Robbo and Mane have been playing brilliantly. Robbo's arguably our player of the year so far, maybe up there with Fabinho, who's doing an unbelievable job at the back. But I think where Liverpool are really missing out is that centre-half, and everybody knows that. And Klopp went into it with 3 recognised centre-halves, and 2 of them are down, and Matip's a doubt for this game, 50-50 maybe. If he's anywhere near fit, he has to start for me, because when we move Fabinho from DM, and I don't think anyone really talks about this, we lose a lot of height from the midfield. And the reason Klopp bought Fabinho for DM is he's a tall player. And, when you've got Virgil van Dijk and the likes of Joe Gomez or Joe Matip, you've got 3 really tall lads there. And I don't know whether Cavani's going to start for you or whatever, but that helps dealing with a big man. You've got a DM in front of them who can win those second balls and whatnot. So we're playing with Jordan Henderson and Thiago there occasionally recently. They're just not as big. They're just not as physical. We're not imposing our will on that side of the game. We're still having loads of the ball, but we've struggled a little bit for spark up front as well. The front 3 are having to wait really hard to get opportunities. The shooting, the finishing's not quite been there. It's just been a bit flat. And to go back to your point about pressing's down across the league this season. I think there's a 14% reduction I read somewhere last week of pressing actions across the league. And I think that's down to the fact that, it's a short and truncated season for everybody. No pre-seasons or not a proper pre-season. So the fitness levels aren't there. And Liverpool's game is built on that intensity and that pressing sort of endeavour that they show. And without that, we're struggling a little bit to create things, because we're a good possession side, but I don't think we're as good in the final third as the likes of Manchester City, where it's just possession, or those great Man United sides down the years where it just felt like it was wave after wave, and you knew the team was going to crumble that they were going up against. Liverpool aren't really as good as those sides in that way, but what we can do is win the ball back and score a goal before you've even transitioned to your defensive formation, and we're losing those opportunities, I think, this season as well.
See, I'm not falling into this trap, because I think you're doing yourself a disservice here. I think you're luring us in, because I've seen this Liverpool side, and I think that you can. And I obviously haven't done it in the last few games because you're not scoring as many goals, you're right. But I still think I'm not coming into this game going that Liverpool couldn't just absolutely bombard us in that first half an hour, and especially because it's us. But talking about the game itself, I think the thing I've always detected, and I know a lot of Liverpool fans, because you don't have to be from Liverpool. I grew up in the 80s and Liverpool were very good. So, in rural areas of Nottingham, there was quite a lot of Liverpool fans. And obviously they're lads I've known from school. So they're always on my WhatsApps and things. And they love it. They love it. And I understand it. I embrace this as well. It's part of football rivalry. You have to take the banter. I've noticed over the last few weeks, they're still saying, no, you're a load of shit. We're not scared of you. But they've been a bit quiet this week since we've been top of the league. What worries you about United? We'll talk about Solskjaer, but do you genuinely have any concerns that United could come and beat you on Sunday? Because that's quite a foreign feeling for Liverpool. And I'm not saying you've been arrogant, because I've been there as a United fan as well. I think you would be right to say over the last 3 years, we'll beat United at Anfield, no problem. Do you think that's still the case? Do you think, and why is that?
Look, let me get it straight first and foremost. If we had our first choice 11 and you had your first choice 11, I think we'd snot yous everywhere. The fact of the matter is we don't have our first choice 11, and losing the best centre-half in world football has had a massive impact, just like signing the best centre-half in world football had a massive impact on us. You know, we went from also runs and challenging for the Champions League to winning the European Cup and winning the Premier League when we signed a centre-half and a goalkeeper. You know, and Virgil van Dijk is that big a player for us. Now, we're not a one-man team, but
like us without Bruno, though.
Virgil's huge. Yeah, exactly.
And you'd probably say Van Dijk's more important than that, but you know, we haven't lost Bruno yet, so you're not wrong to say that. Carry on, sorry.
So then I think Liverpool can win this game of footy, and I expect Liverpool to win this game, but I expect it can be difficult, and I can see it going either way, whereas probably last season I couldn't see it going either way, Mark, is the honest answer.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and I've always been, Liverpool Champions League winners a couple of years ago, they're Premier League holders. I've always been saying, look, I don't think teams have done enough, and I didn't think we would be the team to do it. I didn't. And I'll always hold my hands up. I didn't think we would be the team to. I said it in November. Whoever gets consistent needs to get consistent now, because at some point Liverpool will get better. And the reality is, I think Liverpool actually, for all their problems, have done remarkably well to be where they are. They're in a title race, and they've had those problems. And I look at Chelsea. I mean, God knows. I don't know how Lampard. I think they're right to stick with Lampard, but they should have been in a better position. Spurs have dropped so many points. So I'm over the moon with United being in this situation, but I still think Liverpool have done really well for all the injuries and COVID issues they've had to put themselves there, and that's the quality of player that they've got. What's your thoughts about Solskjaer and Manchester United? Because we as fans have been through. He was getting sacked before that Everton game. That's what the press was saying. And the funny thing is, he's won 9 and drawn 2 in the league since then, which is just unbelievably fantastic. So something's got to give on Sunday, unless it's a draw. But I remember speaking about a year ago, maybe the year before I was there as well, and it was like, I hope you keep Solskjaer forever. What's the perception of a rival fan, and more importantly, what's the perception of a Liverpool fan towards United under Solskjaer? Because I presume it hasn't changed overnight. You don't think he's the right man, but there's some things happening at United. What's your view?
Yeah, look, I think Man United have got really, really good players. And I don't think Man United are going to win the league this season. And I know the comments will go, oh, shock horror, blah, blah, blah. But I think I think Manchester City are the team that I'm more scared of. And that's not just me trying to banter or, mess around. I genuinely am more scared of Manchester City because they've got a world-class manager. And I think that's kind of the difference right now. I think, Manchester United are doing really well and they're winning loads of games of football. And as I say, they've got world-class players. Bruno Fernandes is phenomenal. I really like Luke Shaw. I don't know what Man United's perception of him is or fans is, but I've always really liked him. I know he had a little bit of problems under Mourinho and whatever with his weight issues and stuff, but I've always thought he was a good left back. I think, you can see what Fred's done. I think he's been really, really good over the last few months and stuff. Rashford's a player. Martial's a really good player. So I think if they win the league, it might even be in spite of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, to be honest. I just don't rate him. I just don't think that he's done it. Until he proves that you do it, I can't see that he's world class. I just can't see that he's good enough. And, he might prove me wrong, and I hope that he doesn't, to be honest with you. But I just don't think he's good enough, Mark, is the honest answer.
No, I do respect that, and I thought you might. I mean, we've not pre-spoken about Solskjaer at all, so I'm actually quite pleased that you've said it, because it fits in with what you've said for a long time, and I don't think you would have seen, as a non-United fan, enough to make you change that. And a lot of our results have been very close, and there's a lot of United fans who I certainly agree with you about Luke Shaw. I've always been a fan of his, and Fred's been a very underrated player this year, much probably the same as you have with people like Wijnaldum and. Rashford's fantastic. Martial's been a bit off, but he's still a top player. I would just say, from a United point of view, the impressive thing for Solskjaer, for me, that I would say to an outsider is, and you sort of touched on it at the start, is that he was going to lose his job. And as we know with players, you've had it at Liverpool, we've had it at United. When the press say you're getting a sack, and when the press are saying that Man United have spoken to Pochettino, that's really the indicator for the players to go, right, let's lose this next game and let's get rid of this nightmare. And the fact that United players have gone on that run shows that the players at United trust him. And also, I've seen a lot of points this season, Wolves, Villa, just things that are going our way, like the Eric Bailly block, the Rashford goal at the end. There's a mental toughness in the players that can only come from the fact that they respect and are playing for the manager. And I think that's something in my footballing career that is a big thing. So whatever's going on, there's something about Solskjaer, but I think the jury's out, and I would expect that from rival fans. So that is interesting.
Have you ever done a job, Mark, where the manager's an absolute tit, but the assistant manager's sound, and you've done a good job for the assistant manager?
Yeah, well, yeah. Plenty of them.
Same, mate. Same. So sometimes you can do it in spite of the manager. Do you know what I mean? But no, I take the point. I take you.
There's something going on behind that nobody knows about, is what I'm trying to say, and who or what is responsible for it, we don't know. But in the absence of that, it's an amazing run, and I think Solskjaer does deserve credit, because he does get, just on Solskjaer as well, he does get a lot. And I don't know whether you've ever had it at Liverpool, but you might be able to remark on it. The one thing I would say about Solskjaer is, if you compare him to Lampard, or you compare him, well, Lampard's the biggest one. We've got people in our fan base who've said, even if he wins the title, he's still a shit manager. And you're like, he's won 9 out of the last 11 games. And I just feel bad for Solskjaer. I just think he has this, it's almost like that. It's like a sticker you can't get off, or something like that. He just can't get rid of this label of not being good enough. He gets called a wally with tactics and everything like that. And I think that's his biggest problem.
Right. His tactics are right, because he does things that suit his players, and that's the mark of a good manager, to be fair, isn't it? You've seen loads of managers like Carlo Ancelotti. I think is a really good manager, because he doesn't have one set way of playing. He goes into a club and goes, right, I've got these lads. I've got Calvert-Lewin. All right, we'll start 4-4-2, and then we'll get lads close to him. He works with the players that he's got. So in some ways, I can understand what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is doing. He's got fast lads. He's got good midfielders with good vision, and the defence is probably arguably your weakest area. So let's all help out in the defence. Let's use the pace of the fast lads. That sounds. I just wonder whether in a normal league season, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tactics would win the league. Now, it might in this season. It might, because this league's balmy, and you can almost forget about every league of Premier League seasons you've known, because I don't think the rules apply for all the football that we've all watched down these. I don't think any of those rules from previous years apply. And I think, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could take advantage of that with his tactics. But in a normal season, I just see that City and Liverpool are double-digit points ahead of United. But it's not a normal season. That's what we're talking about.
No, I think that's really interesting, because, and I want to get your opinion on that, because some United fans, and I'm of this opinion that we're still 3 players away from being proper title contenders. And people say, well, we're top of the league, and I said, yeah, but this is you're top of the league after 17 games with 36 points. Every other year, you might be 5th with that, and But it doesn't. We are in a title race, 100%, and we could win this title, even though I think we are 3rd favourites at the moment, and that's where we've got to take it every game as it comes. I think Liverpool and Man City can look and expect to be in a race in April. I don't think we can. We've just got to take it every game as it comes. But you're right. This season, anything can happen. But I think you put fans in the ground, you probably don't go to Villa and get beat 7-2. You put fans in the ground, and I think a lot of the points that teams are dropping wouldn't have been dropped. And obviously, in a normal season, you get a normal pre-season, you get a normal break, you get a winter break, everything like that. You can manage your squad better. So it has been more of a leveler. In fact, actually, Liverpool last season, 49 points they had. I think you've got 35 at the moment, so that's 14 less. And the year before you had 45, so that's 9 less. What do you think? What do you think, if as a Liverpool fan, what is it this year? Do you think it is just fans? Do you think it is injuries? Do you think it is hunger last year to make sure that, because you got so close against City the year before and we're relentless again? What do you think it is that with Liverpool this year that they're not, obviously some of the reasons are obvious, but are they as good as last year? Is it as simple as injuries and no fans?
I don't know, mate. Honest answer. It doesn't feel like we're as good as last year, but it doesn't feel like we're playing the same footy as last year either. It doesn't. I say, that intensity really makes a massive difference to us. I think it's a little bit of everything, to be honest with you. I think obviously we've had the injuries and stuff like that. I'm reticent to question the hunger of the players, because it would be ridiculous of me to even have a go at them for that. I don't think it's the hunger thing, if I'm honest. but I couldn't put my finger on what it actually is. I mean, I don't think Klopp can at the moment. If Klopp could put his finger on it, he'd have righted those wrongs. But certainly, not signing another centre half is ridiculous if Liverpool don't do that this window. I mean, that's the big glaring obvious thing, because moving midfielders, it's messed up everything. It's messed up how we transition from midfield to attack. It's, you've taken one of your DMs out. It's horrible sometimes, and the away form is terrible. Absolutely terrible. And you might think that actually without fans in the ground our away form would be better. It's gone the complete opposite way. So I'm not even sure that's the thing, because our home form's fine. It's the away form which you'd think, well, hang on, there's normally 40,000 away fans there, this should be easy for the lads, and it hasn't been. I don't know. I'd love to be able to give you a straight answer, but I don't know.
No, because it's interesting, because Solskjaer, when we before we went on this great run, Solskjaer would talk a lot about the lack of fans, and it's hard, and and our home form. I think at that time we'd lost to Arsenal, we'd drawn with Chelsea, and he just kept talking about fans, and we've been brilliant away from home. I haven't heard him talking about a lack of fans for a while, but to be fair, he might have done, and I think that it is a big difference. I think that does make a big difference. But then for us fans, what football is probably a little bit more interesting than it was last year. But obviously, we do want fans back in the ground. One similarity is that. Go on.
I was going to say, I actually don't like it as much, and it's not just because Liverpool aren't winning. I actually don't like the football as much. I just think we've lost something, and clearly the fans is it. But like, the title race, if you want to call it that right now, is more interesting. The league season is more interesting, but the actual football, I don't think is more interesting. And, I'm struggling to get the emotions that I normally get out of a game of footy by just watching it on the television. It's just not the same for me.
Well, it's interesting because I know you lads you're normally at the game, like we have flex at the game. So, but you've obviously been doing your watch alongs when Liverpool play. And I love doing the watch alongs, but I feel that makes it better for me because I don't have the audio on for a match because I've got live comments and I just find it just messes with my head. So I'm used to watching United without the audio. When I've watched Match of the Day or what I've watched, I'm like, oh my God, this is shit. I turn the audio off because I'm like, it really brings it home that there's no fans in the ground. I can watch football without audio because I can imagine there's a crowd, and I'm used to watching football without an audio. But watching football on Match of the Day or a match and no crowd in there, it takes it down a level. I don't know whether that everyone else feels that, but yeah, it definitely does. The centre back issue is interesting because we've been saying for a while that United need a centre back because we're not happy with Maguire and Lindelof. Bay's injury prone, and we've got ourselves in this position. They wanted a centre back in the summer. They didn't get one. Get him a centre back now. It gives us a better chance. You buy one in the summer, the season's over. So what's the issue with Liverpool? Because United, it's always Glazers, Woodward, incompetence. Don't want to spend money. What's going on at Liverpool? Because as an outsider, they've done very well. I think one of the things they did when they brought Klopp in was get rid of the deadwood. There was a long-term plan, good signings. Is that now stopping at Liverpool?
No, Liverpool, almost the opposite of every reason you gave for Manchester United. It's because they're a well-run club. It's because they're careful with their money. We don't have the billions that Manchester United and Man City have, and we haven't had for a long time the same amount of money as those sides. Now, I don't know technically whether Man United have it, but there's always a bank willing to give you a loan. And why wouldn't you? They're one of the biggest commercial operations in world football, so it's good money, isn't it? You're going to get your interest payments and stuff. But for Liverpool, it's about long-term planning. Now that infuriates me as a fan because I've just waited 30 years to see my side win the league, and I think if you spend 20 million, you might get another one. And that's what, as a fan, I can't take because I'm like, just spend the bloody money, will you? But I've been talking to a Mirror journalist, Dave Maddock, covers North West football for the Mirror, and he says that Liverpool probably stand to lose now about 200 million of sales during this COVID period, and most Premier League clubs are between 70 and 200 plus million now. And it's not losses. I'm gonna say that it is lost sales, lost revenue. Now I think Liverpool are just a little bit concerned and don't know how long it's going to go on for and everything else. And we've got a strict wage budget as well. So, and I know there's a few players at the club who have like those match the highest earners things and stuff like that. And with Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez, probably as your centre-back partnership, you'd think for the next 5 or 6 years, how do you sign somebody who's going to come in and be second fiddle? Again, as a fan, I'd be like, just go and get a 33-year-old, mate. Just someone to sit there and get a little bit of a payday. But that's not how Liverpool think. And that's what you've got to remember as a Liverpool fan, I think, is that planning and being sensible in the transfer windows and you know, buying to sell or selling to buy, sorry, is what got us here. So you've got to trust the course. You've got to take that fan side out of it and go, you've got to give these the credit in the bank here. I mean, we're world champions, we're Premier League champions, we're a year away from being European champions, and we're going like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That's not right. You've got to trust the people who got you where you are.
Yeah, it is yeah, because I look at Liverpool and I think if they get a centre-back, that's, you know, that massively improves their chances of winning a title, which means they've got a big chance of levelling us up with 20 times. And I look at United and you get some people saying, well, we're not in as bad a position as Liverpool because they've got injuries. They're playing Henderson and Fabinho at the back. And I'm like, yeah, like you've just said there, though. I mean, Liverpool could quite rightly justify it from a business model, even though fans would disagree that, you know, we've got 2 centre-backs there that are going to be a very good centre-back partnership for the next 5 years. We've got Rojo and Jones injured, so you know, that's you can't compare to that. We need to build our centre back partnership, and Maguire and Bailly are good, but Bailly's not worth the paper he's written on, really, because he's fantastic, and I'm sure he'll have a good game against Liverpool. But if he picks him, yeah, we do need a good one, and I just think you're probably right with United as well. It's that they're not the same because I think Liverpool have been better run, but it is that whole. There's a lot of money and a lot of uncertainty around COVID. And as we know with our owners, they like to keep that money for the dividends themselves. If there's a bit extra they might pay, but there's not going to be a bit extra at the moment because they don't know what's going on. So what's the one player, I want to get your score prediction. And also what's the one player or two that you really look at United and you're worried about? Because for me, if I was saying it from a Liverpool point of view, it is that left-hand side. I think Robertson, every time I've seen him this season, looks fantastic. And Mane just worries me a little bit more than Salah, even though Salah's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, Rashford always worries me, but I love him. Like, what a guy off the pitch. Just everything that he's doing right now just deserves the utmost respect because he's standing up for people without a voice. So I knew when we were coming into this show that I just wanted to give a shout out to him, mate. He's an absolute legend for what he's doing off the pitch and holding this government to account. What an incredible person to have at your football club, first and foremost. And he'll be there a long time.
Amazing. And that's amazing as well, just to interrupt that, you know, not many players that can do that. And I think it would be the same if there was a Liverpool player doing it. I think United fans would be exactly the same. But it shows you the enormity of the good work he's doing when you've got rival fans such as yourself saying that.
He's unbelievable, mate. Everything that he's done. But he's a great football player as well. I love watching him play. You know, I can imagine that he might frustrate you at times with the shots from distance that he has, but the ones that I seem to see always seem to go in, but I'm guessing they don't always go in, you know what I mean? But he always does something against us. He's given Trent a torrid time over the years, and, you know, that cutting inside, bending it with his right foot. Same with Martial. He's been a good player against Liverpool, to be fair to him. So it's Marcus Rashford, and it's obviously Bruno Fernandes. Like, we played Sporting in a pre-season friendly over in America a couple of years ago. I think it might have been the season you signed him. Did you sign him in the January window?
Yeah, you played him in the August, didn't you? And because we were all panicking that Klopp was going to have a word with him and you were going to get him. And yeah.
So I was at that game in America and he just ran the show. And Sporting, I can't remember the score. I think they beat us like 3-1 or 3-0. And he was just like, oh my God, that lad is incredible. So when you signed him, I was like, oh no, are you kidding me? And I did wonder whether he'd have the impact, and I didn't think he'd have the impact that he has had. I mean, very, very much harks back to bloody when I used to watch every game of football for every team in the world, it feels like, but very much feels like an Eric Cantona type of signing, to be honest with you, where one guy can just take it up a few levels and instill a confidence and sort of hold others accountable for things.
A bit like
as
Van
well.
Dijk with you, innit? He's took you to that, you know.
So it's him. It's all day. It's his vision. It's the way he plays the game. It's how good he looks, how he always seems to create space and time for himself. He's just a wonderful, wonderful footballer to watch. Like he really is. So he's obviously the danger. And then if I was to pick a third one, Mark, it's probably the referee, innit? I mean, you got to watch for those tackles in the penalty area when you play Manchester United.
You've had bloody plenty. You know, I you know what? I don't get involved in this, and I will bow down to the better people here because you are used to title races. And I remember when we were in title races, referees are mentioned a lot more than they are when you're down in 5th and 4th. And you know, it's you know, we're sort of coming back into this. But I'll tell you what, I've not wanted you to win the league ever, and I never will. But last season, I remember there was 2 or 3. I was like, oh my god! But that's part of the territory. I like I say, I embrace all this. I don't mind people saying we've got referees on the side because that's what happens when you're up at the top. People start talking about it. So, you know,
heavy is the head.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to go for a win, I take it. What's your score prediction?
I think it's going to be 3-2 to Liverpool. I think it's going to be a balmy game of footy. I think it is. Everyone else, we did a build-up show the other day, and everyone else said 1-0 Liverpool. I just thought, there's no way we're not conceding in this game. There's just no way.
I think it all depends on how you approach it, which we spoke about at the start, and how we approach it. And we've already done our preview as well. And I don't think we'll go with a back 5, but he might go with a back 5. And then if he doesn't go with a back 5, he could have McTominay and Fred, or he could have Pogba and Matic. He might not play Martial. We never know. We call him the Tinkerman, and we never know what he's going to do. And that's the thing. I mean, and the bad thing about that is if you play one way and you lose, you're like, oh, we should have played another way. But I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I'm really, really excited about it. And that was the last thing I was going to say to you. Is this bothering you that United are, for as long as it lasts, it might only last a few days. Does this bother you, or is this actually the way you want it to be if you're going to be winning titles?
So 6 weeks ago, it didn't bother me at all. Now I'm not quite thinking like that. Again, I do think Man City are probably, you know, if it's not Liverpool to win the league this season, I think it'll be Manchester City. I'm not sure Man United do sort of make it down the stretch, if I'm honest, but they could do. And that being said, you know, oh God, I wouldn't want Manchester United to win it, not with this team, because I just don't think it's good enough. I think if you put this team, and it's obvious, isn't it? It's not allowed. But if you put this Manchester United team in last season, I don't think they do much better than they did. I don't think you scraped top 4 on the last day of the season, but I don't think you're close to us. That's what's annoying me more than anything. But
it would if we won it would annoy Liverpool fans in more ways than one. But I think you're right; it would annoy Liverpool fans because of all the injuries you've had, and we, touch wood, mysteriously haven't had that this year. Yeah,
well, I don't know why. But it pisses me off, to be honest with you, Mark. Can we stop talking about this now? You're doing me head in. I hate Manchester United. I really do.
I'll tell you what. For me, we've not had many Liverpool Man United title races, and we might not have it this year because it's only January. But if we did and we won it, this is exactly the title race I want because it's the biggest rival. But if we lose it, it's the worst. It's not the same that, you know, Aguero was bad, but going a title race with Liverpool and losing one by a point or something, that'd take a long time to get over. But look, this is what it is. This is what it is on Sunday. It's a massive game, and not the winner doesn't take it all, but the winner definitely, exerts their authority on a situation that, you know, Man City are definitely involved in as well. We'll have to see. Yeah. We'll have to see what happens.
You're right, though. Like winning the league and a title race with Manchester United for Liverpool is the best by far and away. There's no club that comes near it. If you go into the last game of the season, you have to win and you win it. That's the best. Yeah. But equally, it's the absolute worst if you lose it. So yeah, horrible but great because you want to feel something when you're watching footy, and this is actually getting to the point where we're going to feel feelings about the footy, and that's bosh.
I can't remember the last game that United and Liverpool played that had so much on it. It must be like maybe 10 years ago or something. When was the last time you were in a title race? We were in one.
I was going to say the Europa League mattered, didn't it?
But yeah.
Showed where both clubs were at the time, I suppose, more than anything, that actually mattered, because that was the first time we played in Europe. But you're right, 2009.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, thanks for coming on, Chris. Really enjoyed it. And you can check Chris out on Redmen TV. I've done something on there as well, so make sure you pop over and check that out. And thanks very much for coming on, mate.
Absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you.